Welcome back to the Home Care Experience with T&A. In this episode, Amy and Troy sit down with Denise Bell, a former home health agency owner turned esthetician and skincare entrepreneur. Denise shares her experience navigating the highs and lows of working in home care, the realities of burnout, and how reinvention at any age is possible and powerful. Whether you're knee-deep in patient charts or dreaming about your next chapter, this episode is a reminder that resilience isn't just about surviving, it's about choosing to thrive.
Hi, I'm Troy Brooks, and this is Amy Taylor, and welcome to the Home Care Experience with T&A. And today we have with us Denise Bell.
Hello. Hello, Home Care Experience.
Can I tell people you're a former client?
Absolutely.
I mean, you weren't in trouble. Let's clarify that. You weren't in trouble.
You can tell. Okay. You know what? In my resolutions, I'm very much an open book. Probably too open sometimes. Yeah, and somebody told me, you don't have to tell everybody everything. So,
not everybody needs to know everything.
I know. It should be need to know basis.
And I don't tell people some things because it would shock them.
Well, you're a lawyer, so.
Well, I'm a vault of secrets. That's why. And as much as I run my mouth, that's sort of a miracle.
Well, I can be, but you have to say, don't tell anyone. And then it's like flips on that switch. And then you can't get out of me. But otherwise, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. Especially about myself. I'm very open about myself. Mm-hmm. But thank you for having me today. It's great to be here.
And you're a former home health agency owner. You've been around the home health industry.
I've had a colorful background. I started in Kodak back in the 80s.
The film people?
I know. You tell people Kodak, kids, millennials, and then whatever's after them, Gen Zs. Yeah. They don't even really know what film is. But
rotary phones.
Oh, no. But they were so cool. But film, there was a guy, George Eastman, who invented film and how to develop it. And before there were digital cameras, there was film, and you'd have to get it developed. And I started out at the lab in Phoenix, Arizona in 1988, customer service. If there's been a theme out of all my jobs, it's been that.
Customer service?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I like making people happy. I'm a pleaser at heart.
Pleaser,
yeah. You're so shy and introverted.
I am so shy, but you know what? People will tell me that. Something happened to me.
I mean it sarcastically.
I know you did. But what I mean is, before about 30, I really was shy. I was shy, and I didn't like to be looked at. And
how old were you when we met?
Over 30, because I always been kind of outgoing.
That was 10 years ago.
Well, no, we met in the 90s.
I'm trying to give you something to work with here.
97. It had to have been 90s. It might have been 98.
And I was 29 in 1997. Okay. So about that era, I just looked at myself, and the one thing that if anyone ever calls me anything, do not let it be boring. And I don't like boring. It's a waste of my time. And it's just to me, time is the most precious thing. So when I looked at myself, I realized being shy wasn't serving me. Mm-hmm. And so I just stopped, because people are going to talk about you anyway. So why not? I don't want to say give them something to talk about, but be yourself. And then at least if they're talking about you, it's real. It's not like some fake, persona that you were throwing out there, and then they're talking about that. So if you're going to talk, at least you really know who I am.
Yeah, and give them something to talk about.
Why did you want her on here anyway?
Because I like her.
No, I know I do.
Well, we have such a history. We have such a history going back, but I like where she is now. I like where you are now in a whole separate space, but you still have this whole home care background. And now you're in, I don't say the word well, esthetician. Mm-hmm. She's got a whole skincare brand. It was in the Grammy bags. Mm-hmm. And
went to the Grammys.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so we were working together in different capacities. And then not so much when you went to beautician school at 44, because you just told us that off camera. Mm-hmm. And so it was like a second life thing. But I knew you as a friend through all of that. So even though home care, honestly, you guys, you didn't get into home care because of me, but really more because of Craig. We go way back to Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Yes. So I'll tell you exactly how that happened, because I met my now ex-husband. We both worked at Kodak. And then his sister was married to Craig Carter, who he's a tax attorney. And then he got into doing cost reports.
Yeah, he's CPA.
And then Brett and I moved all over the country with Kodak and then landed in Austin, where you already lived.
What year did y'all move here?
2002.
So did I. Because it was like almost the exact same time.
Well, and I remember.
And didn't somebody else in the family move from Austin, like Greg or one of the cousins?
Gavin
moved to Oklahoma City, and I'm like, why?
No. He moved to Austin, and I don't even know from where. He moved all over too.
But I feel like when I was moving here, he was moving from Austin back to Oklahoma City, because I was like, who in the hell in their right mind will move from Austin to Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Your mom did it.
No, I know people who've done it too. But, no, well, it wasn't Gavin then, because he's never lived in Oklahoma City. But his brother lives in Dallas. Actually, now that you bring that name up, I haven't thought of him in a long time. He was a partner with, not with Impressions, but
a home health agency.
Yeah, with what used to be Abiding.
Okay.
So I think the Texas Abidings got sold, and now it's just in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go way, way back. Craig Carter was my old boss. That's where I started.
Craig was actually in Oklahoma, and to the degree in Texas, was like the accounting. His firm was the accounting firm for home health. Yeah. And that was back when accounting and cost reporting was heavy.
Yes, and he was it. And then something happened in 1996. And it changed a lot of things. Yes. And that's when I remember I started hearing your name. It was like Troy Kennedy. Like he's like the person.
Oh, Troy Brooks and Kennedy. Mark Kennedy.
That's what it is.
I work for Mark Kennedy.
Troy Brooks is at Brooks and Kennedy. Was that
it was farm? Kennedy. Yeah. Attorneys and counselors at law. They still have the same name.
Oh, yeah. See, here, I thought your name was Troy Kennedy.
Oh, no.
That's Mark Kennedy. He's boring.
Okay. Well, we don't want boring.
Yeah, he's boring. No. So, and
that's my number one pet peeve.
Mark, I love you still.
I don't know you, Mark, so I would have to meet you first to determine
I love you still,
if you are, in fact, boring.
Well, once you get to know him, he can be sort of entertaining.
Yeah, and I don't know him well. And he was
he's very black and white when it comes to work.
Yeah, he's very attorney-like, and I don't know him personally, so I should clarify that. And he's still around. And Larice, I love Larice. I haven't worked with him.
She sent you a Christmas card.
Oh, cool. So it's the point of it is home care is a very, very small world.
It's a big world, but it's a small world.
Yes. I got into it via Craig. And then when I moved here, Craig sent me he said, go befriend Mark Kennedy. And Mark Kennedy introduced me to Bunny. And Bunny and Healthcare Consult Link lit me on fire.
So I was working for Mark at the time. I was in Austin in the Littlefield building. And that's where we met 20 years ago. And so,
and
here we are.
But so we were going to talk about lifestyle. Like,
one thing when I did work at home care that I noticed was there is not a harder working group of people than nurses. And I think anybody from hospital, but home health nurses are they're a different group, and and they're typically women. I don't want to say they're always women, but they work hard. And so I think I noticed that when, I was working in home health. And then, but again, I guess because I've been a mother since I was 24, there is a caretaking element to my personality. And I think that's why I noticed that in a lot of nurses. So one thing I've learned is it's that old cliche, you have to put your oxygen mask on before you can help somebody else. And I've seen so many people, nurses, but also women in particular, they will work themselves to death.
Yep.
And then there's not anything left over, and it's not sustainable.
It's not. And COVID annihilated so many of us.
Yes. There was already burnout.
Burnout, depression, anxiety, and the industry to get in now is like therapy. Like I know so many of my women friends who their kids are gone. They kind of, they stayed home, went back to school, got psychology degrees, and are really helping people.
I know about 10 people who need inpatient heavy drugs. I've diagnosed to myself.
Okay, you know what? Another.
I mean, I have a list of the top 5 craziest people I've ever met in my life.
Okay, that is funny. I'm going to start a list of my top 5 crazies.
Yeah, I collect them.
Oh, okay. Because another business that I learned about while I was working at home care was skilled nursing facilities, or it was called Grace House. Remember that place?
Assisted living.
Assisted living.
Yeah.
And that is something else where they need the care that they give is just so, it's important. It really is.
To bolster what you were saying about nurses, it's actually amongst lawyers in my area, we know that when we're working with a nurse or deposing a nurse in a deposition, they want to help.
Yes.
And one of the things I have to caution my nurse witnesses on is just be careful with that. I would like to say it was strategic, but it wasn't. It was pure accident. I've had times when I just sat there and I was stumbling around looking for something, and I was a long pause, and the nurse starts talking and telling me what I need to know.
Yes, which that could be used for or against you, depending on what side of the
And the funny thing is, even when nurses go outside of nursing and they're working in other areas like for the government, as they're doing surveys, inspections, that kind of thing, that component of wanting to help is still there.
Well, it's because it's a personality thing. And I think that those kind of personalities get attracted to certain industries, and nursing's one of them. Aesthetics is definitely another one. And, but that goes back to my resolution. And I think lawyers told me this,
We're smart.
ask, don't answer, don't offer anything. Wait until you're asked. And so I'm trying to use that in my life too. But if you ask me, I'll probably tell you.
Okay, you said something off camera that I found very interesting. We were talking about you've had formal education in undergrad.
Yes.
You taught for a while.
Yeah, taught just 1 year, but I learned a lot in that year. 7th grade.
Okay.
English.
Oh, bless your heart. I don't mean that in a bad way.
No.
But and then so you did that. Then you worked for Kodak. And
I started out. I graduated high school.
You developed pictures
in 1986. I wanted to be a photographer, and
really?
I wanted to move to New York City when I was 18 and go be a photojournalist. And the other job I always wanted to do was be a lawyer. Although I had jury duty yesterday, and boy, I'm glad I didn't do that because that would be tough.
There's a lot of boring downtime.
Yeah. But I started out wanting to be somehow in something creative and in photography. And so where I was born and raised in Phoenix, there was a job. It was called Colorcraft. And it was just a little photo lab. This is before they all merged together to become Kodak bought a bunch of labs and then turned them into, one big company. But I started out there, worked there for 3 years, and then I went back to college. I had my daughter at 24, and I wanted to do something that would be, that would be workable with being a mother. And so a teacher, and my mom and sister are teachers too. So I did that. But then my ex-husband got transferred a lot. So I only could teach 1 year. And then I bounced around the country with him. And then
he didn't get fired a lot, did he?
No. He got actually promoted.
Okay.
He got promoted a lot. And when he worked for Kodak, and we moved to Houston, Dallas, California twice, Ohio twice. And so that we moved 8 or 10 times over the course before 2002. 2002, we landed in Austin. It was a lot. I was an expert. The other thing about me is, even though I am late a lot, I'm extremely organized. And I was a big Martha Stewart junkie in the 90s. And when I had a whole system to move, and I could move cross country. I was good at it. Wow. And I liked doing it. So we did that, landed in Austin. But I knew you before even before. And then when we landed here, I worked from 2004 to 2011 at the home health care. And then, working with your family, which you see that also in a lot of home health, is the special challenges, especially when, you kind of maybe don't get along with them anyway.
That's a topic right there. Working with family and spouse.
This industry, it happens a lot.
Yes, there's a lot. As a matter of fact, the mom and pop shop. When people say mom and pop shop, you think of a little retail store or like a 7-Eleven. But I would venture to say that home health care is a mom and pop shop.
I have a lot of clients that would be mom and pop. I have one of my favorites was mom, and she, and now her daughter's run it. She died a few years ago prematurely, they grew up in the business and they're awesome.
Well, you know what though, that I'm so happy to hear that, because a lot of times family dynamics, they're complicated anyway. And so when you work with them, it's even more complicated. And so that was my experience.
I think I know who you're talking about. And I think these kids literally grew up in the home care agency. It was kind of all they knew.
Yeah. Well,
I've done a couple of families.
Okay, I remember my 2 daughters, okay, and they're 6 years apart. But both of them, like, we would drag Carly to dinners. And the only thing Brett and I ever talked about was work. Like, because that's really all we had to talk about. And she would just be bored out of her mind and was like, I remember she said something like, I will never work in a cubicle. And I'm like, you work in a cubicle. And then she ended up working for the home health care. And I mean, she was a liaison, but it was like cubicle. You know what I mean? It was an industry where you would work in a cubicle. But, you know, some people can do it. And, you know, I applaud them.
I couldn't.
Some people cannot.
Divorced.
Yes. Well, yeah. Anyway, who's not divorced? And like, that's another topic.
You get tired of their ass real quick.
Well, you know what it does when you work with your spouse. If there is anything you don't like about them, like you can kind of let it settle if you each go to your separate jobs. But if you like live with them and work with them, like there's no getting out of that.
So you hold on to things.
It's not that you hold on to them. You never get away from them.
Yeah,
like they follow you. Yeah, like to me, holding on is like, you know, you take some time away, but you still have all these things in your mind. Like there's no escape when you work with your spouse. So anyway, in 2011. I, a matter of fact, and I'm like Rain Man with dates. It was a Friday, February 11th, 2011. And my last, experience happened at the home care where I was like, this is not for me and I need to do something else. Another thing is when your whole, cause I was a housewife, when your whole security is wrapped up in one person, and then that person also happens to be like your boss, so to speak, it's very dangerous. And so I really wanted to do something that was on my own. And I wanted to open a business.
That's what I remember, all of that.
And see, and when I hear people there go, Denise, don't you remember? Like you were so scared. You were like, is anyone going to come to me for a facial?
Yep.
And now I'm just like, I don't even think about that anymore, which shows how much you can grow in your 40s. It doesn't all happen when you're young. Although 40s is still young, by the way.
So it's 50s, damn it.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, 60 is the new 35.
I'm with it. I love it.
But I went to beauty school at 44, and it reminded me, I think it was even before that show, Orange is the New Black. But I remember, I think I saw do you remember the show Happy Days?
Yeah.
There was a Happy Days. Some kid got arrested, and the judge was like, you can go to the army or you can go to jail. And I feel like beauty school was like the girl version, like girls that got in trouble, they could go to beauty school or they could go to jail, because there were all types of girls in there. And, you know, here I was, suburban housewife,
this was in Austin? Or?
Yeah. It's a Baldwin Beauty School. Shout out. I love them. Strangely, somehow distantly related to Alec and to the Baldwins.
Is that on 51st Street?
It is on 183, like off Steck and 183. There's a north and a south, but only the north had the aesthetic school.
Okay.
So I went there. Another shout out to Texas and the United States. In England or in Europe, a beauty therapist, it's a 4-year degree, almost like a biology degree. And in the States, it's a 6-month certification, 750 hours. And you literally, it's like, how do they count that? Well, I clocked in. I had a polyester t-shirt with a really tight neck, and we had to wear black, which I still do that all the time. Clocked in, and in October of 2012, I did my 750 hours. And I also was very nervous about renting an office and going straight to work for myself. My instructor there, this is another thing, like shout out to like women who like, I know it's so cheesy to say women supporting women, but
it matters.
I've been supported by so many strong, amazing women. And Chelsea was young enough to be my daughter. She was my beauty school instructor. And I said, I think I need to go work at a spa first. And she goes, Denise, no, you don't. She goes, you need to just get out there and figure it out. And that's another thing, like, especially when you're a people pleaser, you're looking for permission. Like you want someone to, and I needed her to say, you can go do this. And then I did.
Isn't that odd?
It is. It's like our own minds are our biggest obstacles.
Well, I mean, I think it's funny sometimes that I'm the same way. It's like, sometimes I wouldn't think of necessarily doing a certain thing that's going to be very good for me and very beneficial until somebody says, well, why don't you do that? And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that.
See, I see
good idea.
I see it the other way. I get fueled when somebody says, well, you can't do that. I'm like, oh,
okay,
really?
I can see that flipping your switch.
Rebellious and contrary.
Well,
but apparently ornery. I've been called ornery.
Yeah, and I have a streak of that, but it's like that's my cake, but my frosting is people pleasing.
Yeah.
However, you can push me too far, and then it's over. So, you know, when I work with clients, though, they bring out that softer, like they're so in need. And it's not just like skincare, like, and this is another thing about why nurses are so important to like the home healthcare industry, because children and the elderly are probably the most vulnerable classes of people.
Yep.
And so there's an element of trust that you need. I mean, what is the worst thing that you hear is if somebody abused an elder or a child? So,
or a dog.
Well, dogs are on a whole other level, like kind of above it all. Like those are benchmarks almost that I used. If someone abused a child or an animal, they're just there's no they're beyond help. Yeah. But the people who want to take care of those groups of people, I think, are special. And getting back to our whole theme here, or what I'm thinking the theme is, you can take better care of them if you're taking care of yourself. Okay. And I'm not saying you have to go out and get facials. That's not in everyone's budget. It's not in everyone's time budget. But you can do things to really make the amount of care that you're giving other people sustainable. You
know what? You said the time budget. So I've had my lashes done way before lashes were a thing. I mean, I paid cash back then, but I need to ask Katrina. Shout out to Katrina and Wimberley.
Shout out to Wimberley.
Yeah. When I started, but I feel like it was like 13 years ago. But that's the number that's in my head. So a long time ago. But I remember there being a point, and I go every 2 weeks, and it's about an hour. And I was like, I don't have time for this. And I was like, you know what?
That's your meditation.
Allowed an hour every 2 weeks to do something just for me and to have just some quiet space and just zone out. Take a nap. Or whatever. So now I have 3 things. It's lashes, nails, and massage. Every 2 weeks. And they're kind of non-negotiable. And nails are fairly close by. Massage, I found somebody right in my office complex, so it's super easy. But lashes, I now travel to Wimberley for because
Wimberley's not that far.
No, not from here. It's a little further from the office.
We're not going to tell people we're in Hays County, are we?
We're in Hays County.
Yeah, shout out to Hays County.
I didn't want to tell people that.
Why? Are we hiding? Do you have a stalker?
No, I am a stalker.
I'm a stalker too. It's, matter of fact,
I'm really good at
like, I don't even know. I just turned 57. Can't believe that. But I think I have another career perhaps in me because I still have the ability. I can pull all-nighters, but getting sleep is super important. I could have been like a private investigator. I really could have.
So you are a person who will shift careers. I mean, that's pretty empowering, isn't it?
You know what? Like the ability to like, I don't want to say change because you're still who you are, resiliency.
Yeah.
Because life throws shit your way. And like, you can think you're going to be a housewife, but girl, life has other plans for you. And you might need to, be, there's another thing too about women being like masculine, like having to embrace their masculine energy. And they almost talk about it like it's bad, like we have to, if we're female, we have to stay in our feminine energy and men need to be more masculine. But I think your personality has aspects of both. Like I have kind of a masculine personality. I don't like being told what to do. Amy, you do too.
Oh, yeah.
And and this is why it was good for me to go out on my own. I can see better ways, or what I think are better ways. And I need to kind of be let loose to figure those out. Now, they don't all work.
No.
And that is another theme, like being nice to yourself, taking care of yourself, time. But when I see women, nobody beats themselves up more than a woman who's made a mistake. And it can really mess you up, like emotionally.
Coming from a man's perspective, let's throw that in there. I mean, for one thing with men, we're taught we don't have emotions.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yes.
But, okay, here's my issue. I sort of get now at this stage of my life, like the idea of you got to love yourself before you can love somebody else. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of someone else. But I used to say crap all along, like I'm going to work on myself. I had no idea what I was talking about. I now have a little bit better idea. But how do you let's say you're in your job, you are running and gunning, even if you don't know you're about to burn out, or if you burn out, how do you identify what you need to do that would that would do what you're talking about, taking care of yourself? Because it's going to be different.
Yes, and it is, but I actually have an answer. I'm a big believer in therapy too. And so I had a therapist one time, and she said, I want you to find a baby picture of yourself, and I want you to print it out and put it in a frame. And the things we tell ourselves, the things we beat ourselves up, we would never say to a friend or a child. And so you need to treat yourself how you would treat your best friend. So let's say everyone messes up, and sometimes they're big ones. But if you telling yourself you're stupid, no one else would have made that mistake is not helping. And I had another idea back to animals. If you have a golden retriever puppy, they're all paws, they're bouncing all over. And you're trying to train this puppy to walk down the sidewalk, not go off. So if the puppy falls off the curb, you don't yell at that puppy and go, "Get up, you little shit." You go, "Come on, puppy," and gently get him back on track. And we need to treat ourselves that way, because yelling at yourself, being mean to yourself. And another thing is our subconscious mind is like this evil thing.
It is.
And it's back there and you don't even realize it. And this is why having time, bringing awareness to that, it's like you don't realize saying, "Oh my God, that was stupid. I shouldn't have said that." Blah, blah, blah. You don't even realize it's going on in the back, but it is.
One of my favorite poets is Rupi Kaur. I was talking about her this week with some friends, and she written a poem about focusing on the negative. And it says, it's basically something about you can do 1,000 great things during the day, but somebody can identify one wrong thing. Yes. And that's all you're going to think about.
Okay. That's so true. And scientists have discovered why we do that. It is a survival mechanism. Because you can have, let's say you're out there, hunting and gathering, and there's some bunny rabbits and a couple little squirrels, but then there's that tiger. And so your brain focuses on the threats because it wants to keep you alive. But we're not being chased by dinosaurs anymore. And this is why I think, in our lifetime.
Were we ever with the dinosaurs?
I don't even know. I don't know about that. But you know what? Things used to eat us.
You're going off the deep end there.
Think of Game of Thrones. There's wildlings, the Night King, all sorts of stuff. I've been doing a deep dive into Game of Thrones again. But we
all right, there's another.
Oh my God, we need to have a whole you could just talk about the Night King, but Game of Thrones podcast. We focus our brain, and see, that's another thing, bringing awareness to it. So sometimes you can beat yourself up about beating yourself up. So you need to realize another therapist, he said, whenever you see yourself going down that path, Denise, I'm supposed to say these words to wake myself up. And they are, "There I go again. There I go again, looking at the worst. There I go again, ruminating, overthinking, and being my own worst enemy." We have real enemies in the world. Yeah. Don't let yourself be one of them.
So I have an opposite perspective. That's the same, but from a different lens. Because then therapy's great, but not everybody can afford it.
Yes.
And so I would say find some podcasts. And some podcasts there's thousands of them out there. And just
the home care experience with TNA.
I mean, we're going to be therapeutic too.
Well, you know what, though? I'm telling you. You know what else? You're right. Not everyone has the time or the money for therapy, but YouTube is free.
Yep.
Okay. Podcasts.
Yep.
I've learned, I will tell you, we're talking about digital marketing off camera. I don't have a marketing degree. I have an English and history degree, and I don't have any IT degree. Everything that I've learned, and I can get in the back end of a website, every single thing I've learned. Well, and Elon Musk says this. He hires for like character and for how hard you're going to work. You can learn stuff.
Yeah.
So, but going back to that about podcasts are a great resource. But you know what else is? Having a great core group of friends that you can really be yourself with.
So there's a podcast that helped me, and it sounds completely weird, but it's no BS women. I'd have to look it up. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes.
Josh, remind me. But it's this lady.
Link in comments.
Yes.
Put the link in comments.
It's this lady that she lost 100 pounds, and it's about it's weight loss, and it's about how to lose 100 pounds. But she focuses solely on the mental. And so why I say I came from an opposite perspective is, I would hear the podcast and the thought leaders and whatever say, watch how you talk to yourself. And I'm like, well, I never say, oh, that's not good enough, or you didn't do that good enough. Like I would say all the things they were saying, the negative self-talk. I was like, well, I don't say those things. Well, then I listened to this 100-pound weight loss podcast. And it just got me digging deeper.
Yes.
Because what I was hearing were very superficial.
Yes. Those are your conscious thoughts. But there's stuff deeper down.
And what I found was I never, ever told myself, you're not good enough. What I said way deep was, you could have done better.
Oh,
it's the same.
Okay.
It is the same thing.
This is my question.
Yes, same thing.
You fit the category of a lot of our clients who are entrepreneurs. They are, you're talking about the mom and pops and everything. Many of those people are very driven. I have some that we get in arguments because I'm telling them, no, you can't do this. And then I have to explain to them in detail why they can't. Well, they can. They might go to jail. But anyway,
which is not the goal.
No.
Jail's not the goal.
It is not. But actually, we're talking big house times. But the problem I have is, how do you spot it? How do you spot that you are beating up on yourself? Because you've been doing it so long, you don't even recognize it.
Okay, and this is, I'm going to get a little woo-woo, but not too woo-woo. This is
I live in New Orleans. We can do some woo-woo.
Slowing down and present moment.
Yep.
And if you will anchor yourself in what is happening, in awareness. Because so much of what we do, and it's even more of what we think, it's not conscious. Like you're driving home from the office, you don't really remember it because your brain, again, is always trying to keep you alive, and our brain can only remember so many things. So it filters out other stuff.
That
so
need to remember.
If it's in the background there, it's you don't need to remember it. But if you go to slow down and journaling, that's a huge thing. But again, it's a time constraint. And I think of nurses who've pulled 12 hours.
And they're doing notes and shit.
Oh, I was just going to say, they got their boss on their ass saying, your notes are backed up for a week. And then they got 3 kids, and then they have cupcakes first due and Thursday folders to sign. And these women are barely hanging in. But if you can just you take a hot bath and just in the moment, what do I have to do? Right now I'm in the bath. And you think about what you've got going on right this moment. And then literally you have to let some things go and just not, and it's a practice. Another thing.
It's a skill.
Well, everything is, but when you think, because I've been really.
Some of it's just sheer talent.
Well, and some people are more talented than others.
Sheer talent.
But I am, again, going to other resources. I have recently been really interested in, can you really control your thoughts? Because I'm you can't control your thoughts, but you can control some of them. And the only way you can is to practice. Back to your weight loss thing. There's keto diets, there's vegan diets, there's all these. It is absolutely a mindset.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you have to do is, especially if you're overweight, you're already mad at yourself. And so you already feel like you're not good enough.
Yep.
And so what do? If it doesn't matter, then,
have the donut.
Have the donut, eat the pizza. But if you've got the brain of a skinny girl and you're like, I'm hot, what do hot girls eat? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Then next thing you know, you are.
And that's how, so Troy, you asked that question. That's how it worked for me. Like I was never fat, but I felt like I was gaining weight and what was going on. And that wasn't even really why I listened to that podcast, but I have a bad sugar habit. And so I was like, okay, when I sit down and I all of a sudden at night feel like I need a pint of freaking ice cream.
Yeah. Amy, you're speaking my language.
What conversation is going on in my head? So I had to find a point at which there was, like, if you will, a pain point, and stop and say, okay, what am I thinking right now?
Yes.
Like, what is causing me to think that, and all blah, 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 blah. And I found part of mine wasn't even so much that.
You're not even hungry, probably.
No, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
So it's weird. My ice cream thing is very serious. It's very specific ice cream. Part of it is digging through the pint and getting, like, the cookies and the different pieces.
Okay, it's like a ritual.
It's a ritual.
Yes.
And so I replaced it with coloring books for a little while.
I love that.
Listen, be careful when you Google adult coloring books.
No, I just sent my daughter one for Christmas.
Well, yeah, but some wild shit can show up.
One of my favorite quotes is, never ask a woman eating ice cream out of the carton how she's doing.
Yeah, because you should know.
Yeah.
You just keep on walking to the bed.
It's bad. So this past weekend, we have an Amy's Ice Cream really close.
No
connection. But I was like,
shout out to Amy's Ice Cream.
Yes. And I was like, I really want ice cream. So we watched another episode of Yellowstone, and it was like Saturday night. So then I'm on my phone. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm looking to see what time Amy's Ice Cream closes, because the boy can't say no to me. That's his work. He's learning how to say no. And so then after that episode, I was like, okay, they don't close till 11. Come on.
Yeah.
And so
there is something that goes great with Yellowstone and ice cream, though.
I don't know. It was good.
So would you be willing to come back and talk to us about
something serious?
No. So more on these things about, I think the biggest struggle people have are identifying when they're getting close to burning out, when they're beating up on it. Maybe some clues as to that. Maybe come back and do another talk about that.
Yeah. So
because we're running out of time.
Yes. And I would like, actually, clues to burnout is, I don't really.
I'm asking you to do it now.
Yeah. I'm like, I would have to look that up.
Why do y'all have to do it?
I already get invited. You mean you're already asking me on a second date? On
Thursday?
Okay. No, I'll be back.
Well, good. Well, I think this was good. I mean, it's fun to have the conversations, but I think it brings another perspective when you've been in the home care world, because, like you said, it's very special. It's different than, honestly, it's different than a bunch of accounting firms. So I've got my accounting world and I got my home care world, and there's a lot of similarities.
It has its own language. It really does. It is crazy.
Yeah. Its own personality.
That's why, when I start looking for someone to help me with my work, it's really difficult. I need somebody who's agile. That's one of our favorite words.
I love that.
Anyway,
and then you trust. Trust is huge.
Yeah. And somebody, yes, that is huge. So we want to close this one out, and then
Well, thank you so much, Denise.
Thank
Bell.
you for having me. I know,
Denise Bell Skincare.
Yes. Well, and you know what? The brand,
the Grammy bag lady.
The brand,
it's 5 Circle.
Yes. The Denise Bell Skincare is the spa. It's in Westlake, and I've been doing facials for 13 years.
That's Travis County.
Yeah, it is Travis County. It is. But in 2017, I started a brand of skincare called 5 Circle Skincare. And I can talk to you about why I named it 5 Circle, but that would be a whole other podcast.
That's the number of grace. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that wasn't.
No, I will say it is good to, if you're going to name a business, to put a number in front, because it puts you on the top of the. Yeah.
Oh, Don Harmon thinking right there.
I did work for him.
I know, but there's a whole story about Don.
I haven't even asked you about him.
Well, we'll talk about that. That's off camera.
Yeah.
Anyway, Don is a character.
Shout out to Don Harmon.
Yeah.
When is he Dallas Business Brokers?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
That's it. So anyway.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Home Care Experience with TNA. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found it insightful. You can find more episodes of the Home Care Experience wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We'd love it if you could share this podcast with your network and or leave us a review. It really helps us reach more people who are passionate about home care and hospice. Visit thehomecareexperience.com for links and resources in the show notes. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference in the lives of those you serve.